Prime Minister is under fire after skipping an emergency debate on the escalating U.S. and Israel war on Iran. Opposition leaders say Canadians deserve to know where exactly the government stands. Ottawa working late Monday debating the ongoing war between the U.S., Israel, and Iran. While MPs debated Monday, Prime Minister Carney was attending a community iftar for Ramadan. Critics say his absence highlights ongoing questions about Canada's role or lack thereof in the Middle East.
All of us must come together around the values of Eid, the values of community, of generosity, and yes, of sacrifice. These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
Canada has changed its position on the Iran war 4 times in 10 days. Day 1.
Canada supports the United States acting to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and to prevent its regime from further threatening international peace.
Day 4.
These actions are inconsistent with international law.
Day 5.
One can never categorically rule out participation. We will stand by our allies.
Day 10.
Le Canada ne participe pas dans les opérations offensives des États-Unis et Israël et ne y participe jamais.
So, which is it?
We learned that in the very early hours of Operation Epic Fury, the Israeli-American joint attack on Iran, that a Canadian base in Kuwait was bombed. In the early hours of March 1st, it was bombed. Canadians were bombed. And yet, this is the first we're hearing about it. It took 2 weeks for this story to come out. Why didn't the Prime Minister tell us about it? He has spoken on this issue over and over again. He has flip-flopped on this issue over and over again, whether he supports the war, opposes the war, maybe Canada will join the war, we're calling for a ceasefire. We've had very confusing communications from the government on this. And now we learn that Canada's actually a target and involved in the war. We were struck.
2 days ago, it was revealed that it took the government of Canada 12 days to let the Canadian people know that Iran had bombed a Canadian military base in Kuwait. The government of Canada, had an article not come out from La Presse, would have never let them know. Now, today, it's coming out that former Iranian regime clerics, mullahs, members of this religious totalitarian sect are now entering Canada. Check out this video of Mortaza Taib Salim entering the country at Toronto Pearson Airport. It is believed that there are over 700 active IRGC members in this country. We are one of the few countries in the West that have failed to label the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization.
So would you like to see Sharia law in Canada replace Canadian law?
At some point it will. You know, because we have families, we are making babies. You're not. Your population is going down the slump. That's right? By 2060, Muslims will be the biggest religious group the world over. Right. What are you going to do then? Actually, are you going to oppose Sharia even then?
We now know from the Iranian community right across the country, from many others, that there are hundreds of IRGC agents presently on Canadian soil, using Canada as a safe haven to organize and to fundraise and to terrorize diaspora communities right here at home. We have seen now critics of the Iranian regime from out west, an investigation now being treated as a homicide, somebody who is critical of that regime. We see constantly, and particularly as an MP from a region who represents many in that community on a weekly basis, those calls coming into our office informing MPs and at all levels of government, including authorities, that they are terrified of living within their own communities. The hundreds of agents that are here today live in Canada with complete impunity, and we have a Liberal government that has done absolutely nothing to stop it. We've seen violence against businesses, gunshots into Iranian activist businesses. We've seen terrorism in the Jewish community. We are now amongst nations that lead the world in attacks against Jewish institutions.
Non-Muslims say, Islam spread by the sword. Tell us that. So what? And we gave them the choices between accepting Islam or paying taxation or facing the possibility of going to war. But to say, no, Islam was not spread by the sword, this is not true. What is meant by it is mentioned, which is to fight. To fight the people until they accept the religion or to pay taxation. And this is clearly mentioned in chapter 9. Okay. So you have to fight them until they give the taxation. In Islam, when we conquer a country, of course, there's nothing peaceful about it. But look at the amount of Muslims coming in to Islam. They are in the thousands, in the hundreds of thousands, and the millions.
You cannot be Muslim more than me. You will not be more Arab than I. So why is it that I banned the Muslim Brotherhood and you haven't?
Istanbul, alhamdulillah, now in our hands. Rome one day will be in our hands. And every house and every tent will have a Muslim in it.
Why is it the fact that Islamic Relief is banned in UAE and it's banned in Mecca, but is allowed in Paris and in London? So it's, there's a lot of questions to be asked.
We are coming and we will destroy you.
The problem is not with the freedom of speech. The problem is that there is an evil inside your society now using that policy of freedom of speech to abuse it and to destroy your society. You see radical Islamists and Brotherhood who are former terrorists or terrorists themselves, but in the West they have been named as activists. Those who run away from justice in their own country and those who committed a crime have been involved in various heinous acts such as rape and beheading and so on. All of those individuals right now, they live in the West as teachers, as lecturers, as doctors, and as protesters, as protesters who protest to glorify the Muslim Brotherhood, the armed forces at least of the Muslim Brotherhood.
And we are Hamas. Our resistance has existed for centuries. Israel, burn, burn. Palestinians will return. Israel is a terrorist state.
They're regulating podcasts in Canada.
Oh yeah, and
I
was reading about what they're doing. It's terrifying. So they want to bring in this bill. They regulate podcasts. So what they want to do is every podcast streamer or whatever it is platform that makes more than $10 million revenue, not profit, revenue, has to register with the Canadian government. They then want them to hand over information about their content and the people listening to their to their
oh my God.
to the government.
Imagine
Trudeau.
getting a hold of Alex Jones's email list.
Probably a bunch of senators on there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, imagine.
Yeah.
And then
the government can get that.
They're talking right now about, and maybe we're going to need to fact check this again because I was reading it this morning. But basically, they want it to promote Canadian. Something to do with like basically what Canadian greatness, whatever it is, they talk about it, and Indigenous affairs. And you're like, oh, so they're going to say a number of things are un-Canadian. and then you can just silence them. Look what Trudeau did with the truckers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
We just had one of their guys on to talk about it.
Not just the truckers, but people who donated to the truckers got their bank accounts closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is wild.
Yeah.
You got locked out of all of your money because you donated to a cause where you didn't think that people should have to take an experimental vaccine in order to be able to work to drive a truck.
The other extremist groups, like the Muslim Brotherhood, who are friends with the IRGC and Hezbollah people, they cannot operate in Bahrain, in Oman. These are Muslim countries. Where do they operate? In London, in France, in Washington, D.C., in Australia, in Canada, Toronto. They operate here. They have bank accounts. They register charity. Right. So Macron, the president of France, recently said, the Islamic world is in a crisis. I say, no, you are in a crisis. You went to the Muslim countries and you imported the garbage that the Muslim countries wanted to put in prison or isolate away from society. You went and you imported them. Why? For cheap labor. But these Islamist extremists, they don't want to work. They want free welfare. They want to marry French women, blonde hair, blue eyes. They don't have time to work. So look at Poland. They don't complain from Islamic extremism, not a single terrorist attack in Poland. The moment they sense there's a problem, they crack down on it. Polish policy, beautiful. The French, no, come. When they come, they use the resources. They go to Washington, D.C., and they sit in Congress. They support the Iranian regime. They go against the sanctions in Congress, right, with their hijab. Why? Because the ideology is filth to begin with. When you import that, or you allow it in, or you amplify it, or you glorify it in any way, you make your bed, sleep in it. So that is also a problem of the West. The question is, Tina, did the extremists become stronger or the West become weaker? I say it's both.
So I have some breaking news, and you're probably going to want to sit down for this, because when I first saw this, I actually ignored it. I didn't want to do a story of it because I thought it was actually fake until I went to the government website. Watch this. So there were some questions that were asked to the government, and they were finally answered on January 26th. And it had to do with the cost of travel. And the question is, what's the total cost of in-flight catering for the Prime Minister's flights, broken down by trip and fiscal year? Very simple question. When he went to Rome for 3 days, the in-flight catering was almost $100,000. In-flight catering. When he went to London, it was $50,000. When he went to Washington, D.C., which I believe is probably an hour-and-a-half flight, was $21,000. Now, this is the total for the hotel and accommodation. As you can see over here, where it says Holy See, which is also known as the Vatican, that's $133,000. He was there for 3 days. From the 16th to the 19th, $133,000. When he went to The Hague, that was for a NATO trip, as you can see there, $141,000. He was in the Netherlands for 2 days, June 24th, and he left on June 25th. Let me show you the cost again. $141,000 to be there from the 24th to the 25th for the NATO summit. So when you add up just the hotel costs of the Vatican, the $133,000, plus the in-flight catering of nearly $100,000, we're talking about $250,000 for hotel and in-flight food. That doesn't consider the security detail, the actual cost of the flights, the pilots, the overhead staff, the salaries of everyone that's there. These flights are in the millions of dollars. It is ridiculous. So when you see him taking these flights for a day or two, just remember this is your money. Nearly $100,000 on in-flight food? Absolutely insane.
If you told the average Canadian 10 years ago, within a decade, 2/3 of the country would be living paycheck to paycheck, forced to choose between heating their homes and buying groceries, they'd have laughed in your face. That skilled workers earning six-figure salaries would struggle to pay rent. That the healthcare system would all but collapse, with 24,000 Canadians dying waiting for surgeries or diagnostic tests in the past year. That massive tent cities with hordes of drug-addled homeless would spring up in every major city. But that's exactly what happened. While it might sound sensational, the past decade has been a total collapse of what was once considered one of the best countries in the world to live in. The Canada you grew up in is dead. Let's hope Canadians realize it didn't have to be this way, that the third worlding of Canada was entirely self-inflicted, and that the process can still be reversed, if only people wake the hell up.